Hello woodworkers, scrimpers or whatever you are interested. Today I'm hoping to show you how I make my little tables. As you can see, it's only a tiny little thing. It's about half the size of a conventional coffee table. I made one initially and everybody in the family seemed to like them, so I've ended up making 6 or 7 of these things so far. They're very useful because it's a bit smaller than a conventional thing, so it's handy if you want to put it by your chair and just stick a cup of tea or a cup of coffee or a glass of wine, whatever it is you fancy, or anything, or a book on there. And it's only a small thing. It's simple construction, and as I'm a scrimper, I make everything from junk or stuff that other people have thrown away. So everything in this table is made from throwaway wood, other bits of offcuts that have come out of a skip, or old furniture that I've broken up. In this case, you'll see what I've done. I've put a fretted pattern in here of a German Shepherd, because this one was made for my wife, who's obviously a German Shepherd fan, and it's got the little pattern all around on all 4 sides of it, down here, around here, and around the other sides. It doesn't have to be a German Shepherd. You can put anything you like there, or indeed you don't need to put anything there at all if you want to do it a bit plain. I'll just go in a bit so you can see that, hopefully. Hope that's focusing all right. I've got another one here which I'll show you, which is a similar design. That's the slightly larger one. This next one's just a tiny bit smaller, not much, but you'll see on this one I've got a leaf. It's actually a maple leaf I found in the orchard, and I thought, oh, that'll make a nice pattern, so I scanned it in on my computer and put it on Photoshop and created it to a line drawing, and it's made quite a nice little pattern to go around the side of the thing. It's fairly neutral, so it doesn't matter, you know, most people wouldn't mind that. Now, it's simple construction. Is basically the top, I'll turn it so you can see, is just laminated from a lot of strips of wood. I make my own tops, again from junk. It's just bits of wood that are glued together. This, I'll move this out of the way. Just move the camera a bit so I can see what I'm doing. This is can you see? I hope you can see this. Move the camera out and you can see better then. This is a piece I've done earlier. You can see it's just strips of wood at about 1.5 inches width, just simply glued together. I'll make it in two pieces. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 actual strips in there, and some of them, I don't know if you can see this, they're joined end to end where there's been knots and things, and I've cut them out, and there's another one there. And actually, if you're careful, you can do it quite well. It'll hardly be noticeable, and sometimes it's a feature anyway. So all I do, I just glue them up, clamp them up with some cheap bar clamps. I've got a thicknessing machine, and I run them through the thicknesser. I can only do 10 inches at a time, so what I do 2 10-inch panels, and then obviously join them together to make a 20-inch or whatever size I want. This is another example of when I've just stripped half of one, for example, that you can see a little join there. It's just, as you can see from the end, it's just 3 strips joined together, and it makes use of wood that would otherwise perhaps not be of any use, and I waste hardly anything. I mean, the offcuts of wood go on the fire, and even the sawdust we put on the compost heap, so nothing gets wasted. So that's the top. I've actually, for this one, I've got a top almost ready made over here. Just bring it on. This will be the top of the one I'm making. This one is actually a commercially glued together piece. A neighbour of mine was throwing out an old chest of drawers the other week and asked me if I would like it, and I said, well, I wouldn't want it for a chest of drawers because it wasn't much cop for that, but it was brilliant for the wood, and it was all fairly solid pine, the European redwood. And actually this is part of the old top, and I've cut it and it's already glued together, and it makes quite a nice top. There's holes underneath, but that won't matter, you won't see that, and the top's fairly intact. When I sanded that down, and then I put a nice edge on there with a router, that will be quite a nice top, I think. It'll save me the trouble of gluing my own up. The sides, basically, you just need 2 pieces like this, and 2 like that. It depends what size you want the table according to the top. Basically, they sit, get one on there, one down there. Legs, again, it's just cheap softwood that I found. And simply fitted together like that. I'll put that on the other corner, you can probably see a bit better from there. over there. These pieces, you'll notice I've already cut a slot in them, because the way I fit them to the legs, again, don't expect fine cabinet work, because it isn't that. It's just a basic, simple, useful table made from offcuts and odds and ends. It's not fine carpentry by any means, and nothing I make is fine carpentry. It's all bits and pieces, but it's functional and it works and people like it. It's simple, and I get a lot of pleasure making things from stuff other people throw away. It's always a waste, I think. Basically, all I do, I shall put a groove in there. I've got a rotor table, which I'll show you later at working. I shall put a groove in there and down that side as well. These pieces, the side piece, I've already done earlier. And then I use a biscuit, homemade ones actually. I don't buy them because I prefer the homemade ones. It's just bits of plywood. This is a sample here. This is one I've made particularly for the table. You'll notice it's got a curved edge there, and it sits in the timber like that. And then when I've cut the slot in there, that will fit into the slot nicely, and it'll take account of the roundness of the router, so you know, it maximises the joint. And it's perfectly strong actually. I mean, with the glues we got today, the modern PVA, there's no problem with that at all, staying together. So when I got a few minutes to spare and bits of odd plywood, all I do, I just cut these bits up into strips and put them in a box ready. This is just cheap plywood, and it's perfectly alright for what I want. And they're handy whenever I'm going to do a job, not and cut them to size. The corners of the table are held together. I use these little homemade corner blocks, so that when this is fitted together like that, the little block will screw in there. If you can see that, just moving a bit into the corner, and that you just put a screw through there and there, holds it together, and then a hole in the top where it's just screwed loosely to the top to allow for expansion and everything. I'll just take that away, get back to the other part. The side panels for this one, as this little table, I'm making it for somebody who likes cats. I've decided to do a cat pattern on it rather than a dog or a leaf. This is I've already sort of, let's move this a bit more, that's it. I've already done a sort of basic cat design on there, ready for the fretwork in. This is where the scroll saw comes in handy. It's ideal for this. Most people think of scroll saws are only useful for fretworking, but actually they're very good for general woodworking. This is about 5/8 of an inch thick, I suppose, and the Hegner frets will have no trouble at all cutting through that. I've drilled the holes ready for the cutouts because it will be like a silhouette pattern. That's actually a duff one. I stuck the pattern on there, ready to cut, and then I realised there's a hole in the back, because again it's recycled timber, and normally that hole wouldn't matter because it doesn't go all the way through, but it just happens to be right where on the back of the cat, and it will show, so I've had to reject that one. But this is one I've already done and cut out. I've done 2 or 3 so far. I've got another one to do to show you. That's basically what it's going to look like, hopefully. If you look on the back, you'll see how smooth the saw has cut it out. This one isn't quite so smooth. For this one I used actually a normal fret saw blade, and you do get a bit of curve on the back, a little bit hairy where the cuts come out. It's not too bad, and it sand down it'll be fine, but it just shows the difference. This one was cut with a reverse tooth fret saw blade, and there's hardly any curve or anything on feathering or anything showing on there, and that's almost perfect without hardly sanding. So that's the 2 sides. Then I've got the other side here, one of these, the long one. I've got one more to do, which is this one here, already cut out. I'll show you how to do that later. Basically that's about it. So the next job, I've already put the slots in the end of these ready. I haven't done the legs yet, so we'll cover that in a moment. And I've got this piece to cut out, and I've got to make some more corner blocks. So with that, I think I'll take a break, and I'll get the thing set up, and we can see how we get on with the next piece.